So, congratulations to the three of you for being honored this year. Could you just please introduce yourself and what you do and what it is that brings you here tonight? Starting with Katie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, good evening. I'm Katie Clark-Sieben. I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, and just honored to be here tonight with all of the other honorees. Congratulations to all of you.
I'm Darren Lynch, the CEO and founder of a firm named Irish Titan. We are a web design and development firm that delivers business first, online second. We're closed only 2 days a year, St. Patrick's Day and the day after. That always works well. Congratulations to everybody, and thanks for being here.
And I'm Stu Ackerberg, CEO and owner of the Ackerberg Group. We're a boutique real estate firm specializing in commercial real estate, mostly in urban areas. And I'm fortunate that my last name starts with A, so I think I'm here as the beginning of the alphabet. But thank you for having me here today. Appreciate it, and congratulations to everyone else. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. All right, so Darren, this is for you. Are you ready? Yes. What has been the biggest change in regards to the Minnesota tech scene over the last couple of years?
That's a hard one to start with, just because technology changes so fast. It's probably changed by the time we got here today. I think that the technology is becoming more and more adopted more comfortably by people who aren't technology fluent. And so there are a lot of people that resisted technology that now know they have to work with it on a daily basis. From a web perspective, it's constantly changing. SEO changes probably every day. Google never really lets us know exactly how it works. Responsive design is something that a lot of people have heard about. More and more businesses are going to e-commerce. B2B, which there are probably a lot of B2B people here, is adopting e-commerce at twice the rate that B2C is. And so the technology is constantly changing. If you don't like something, just wait, because it'll change.
Yeah, great. So what was, excuse me, do you go by Stu?
Sure. Be perfect.
Stu? What was the last book that you read?
Oh, that's a good question. The last book was called The War of Art, not to be confused with The Art of War, by Stephen Pressfield, which is all about resistance, having to do with your creativity and sort of working through that process so that you can really maximize your creative forces and everything that we're doing and maximize the passion with which we approach life and our projects.
So is it the assertion then that the creative process, of course, entails resistance?
Correct. Very much so. And really, how do we process that resistance? How do we
How do you
identify
dance with
the resistance within us, identify it, dance with it, so we can really get to that next level of creativity and really power and passion and ability to really influence the work that we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. Katie, you do work at the state level. Are you a demographer?
I'm not. No.
But I think I've heard you speak about the changing demographics in Minnesota. What kind of things are you seeing in terms of the shape of the state and its economy?
Well, the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development houses all of the labor market information on behalf of the state. And so we know that our economy is doing very well at the moment. We have a fantastic story to tell about Minnesota. Our unemployment rate is relatively low. We have job vacancies increasing. But we know that we also have challenges that we need to be thinking about and addressing in the future. By the year 2020, we're expected to have a workforce shortage of about 86,000 workers in our state. And so it's something that we need to be focused on how are we ensuring that all Minnesotans have an opportunity for education and training. The unemployment rate for a white male in Minnesota is 4.3%. For an African-American male, it's 15%. And so we need to make sure that all Minnesotans are engaged in that process and have access to a job, and that we're recruiting new talent to Minnesota because we do have a thriving business community here And we need fresh talent to fill those jobs.
Did you say 86,000? 86,000
86,000
by which year?
by 2020.
By 2020. 6 years. 6 years. So, and you inform policy at the state level that helps attract people to the state, do training programs, and so forth. That is real power. Yeah, thank you. Let's see what we have here. All right, Stuart, what has been your biggest failure and why? We're going back to the War of Art, rather. And what did you learn from this experience?
You know, I think the biggest failure was when I let my ego sort of get the best of me, when I got caught up in really what we were, about being bigger as opposed to being the best, and really took my eye off the ball. And, with that, it just caused all sorts of ripples through, our organization and I think with me personally. So that's been probably the best touch point for me to try and stay better focused.
Was there a specific moment, issue that you can share with us?
Well,
Describe what you can.
I think it was just a culmination of things where I just really lost sight of what I was doing, really my own moral compass, and the organization's compass as far as being true to ourselves, to our passion, to our vision, to the standards that we set, and just started to compromise as far as growing for the sake of growth, really, focusing more on being transactional as opposed to being in relationship, which I think it's really about long term. So there's all sorts of, speed bumps and potholes that I was able to fall into and really learn and grow from that. And I think, as a result of that, I've chosen personally to approach our business in just such a different fashion. And with that authenticity and really trying to, put the ego in check and make sure that everything that we're doing is really for the core purpose of integrity and moving the needle and doing really high quality work that will sustain through time and impact other people's lives in a positive way. It's just everything has changed. The people that we've attracted have changed. Our clients have changed. Our ability to get work done has changed dramatically. So, fortunately, I learned most of that lesson in the 90s, and we've been able to reap the benefit of those experiences and really this new insight that every day we have to stay awake to working on, because it's easy to sort of fall asleep and get back into those patterns and get caught up in what other people think are important as opposed to really what our core values are of value and importance.
So your sense of purpose was really solidified as a result of this.
It was. I mean,
Yeah.
we ultimately ended up doing a lot of what we did was because other people thought it was important instead of really what was important to us. And so it was more a lesson and less is more. And really being clear in what we wanted to do and why we wanted to do it and making sure we're coming from a point of integrity.
I liked what you said about moving from transactional to relational.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and what you're working on, Darren, too, that, this is the world we're living in now, more and more, where everything has context and has to be focused very much on the relationship. It's never not been true, but I think especially so, and where our growth will come from. Okay, so if you just met someone who relocated to Minnesota, and Katie, I'm going to give this to you, given that we were talking about trying to pull people to the state. What guidance would you give them for meeting people like the Power 50 in this room? How would you help them connect?
Well, one of the roles of DEED is that we're constantly talking with companies that are thinking of relocating to the state. And so I'm often having the conversation about why Minnesota is such a fantastic place to be doing business. And one of the reasons why is because you can create a network here. It's a large enough market where you can have a multinational company, Fortune 500, be successful. I moved to Minnesota in 1999 and have been able to meet lots of fantastic individuals and really get to know the community. And I think whether it's within your industry or professional networks, that exists here. And there's probably 2 degrees of separation instead of 6. And I think that helps drive business here in the region, and I think that's why this is a great place to live. We know that when people move to Minnesota, which it's hard to get people to move to Minnesota with our winters sometimes, but they don't leave once they're here. And I think it is about that network and the relationships.
And do you have a way of measuring that? Is that something that there's data around?
We do have some data around how many Minnesotans are moving to the state or moving elsewhere. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So Darren, a very deep question. Is it a perm or au naturel? Love the flow.
It's au naturel.
Excellent. Yes. Thanks for flowing with that one.
I expected one hair question.
So let's try this one then. A question asks, who is your hero?
Actually, before I answer that, I want to take just a second to thank a lot of people in this room, because as we've grown over the last few years, there are a ton of people in this room that have helped us. There's a table of people over here in my Allied Executives Forum, have some of our employees here, my girlfriend, a lot of people here that have really helped us grow. So I want to be really clear that we appreciate that. So thank you. My hero. That is a bit of a broad question. I tend to have some unique people that I look up to. One person is my dad. My dad started the farm that I grew up on in Iowa on his own. It wasn't a family farm. Started on his own, did well, went and got a little bit bigger loan, got more land, etc. And so I really learned a lot from him. My mom taught me a lot about how to treat people and that sort of thing. Because besides Dad starting the farm, the only other thing he really taught me was about how to swear. Pretty good at that. There are a lot of business people. Of course, Steve Jobs, a lot of technology business people look up to him. Then, quite honestly, there are some unique people that I look up to. Magic Johnson is a big fan of Magic, Michigan State, right? And some other people that are a little bit more personal, like that. Quite honestly, Gene Simmons from KISS is someone that I like a lot. I like people that don't let themselves be defined by other people's norms.
It's the hair, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've learned a lot from a number of people that have like slices of their leadership and of their philosophy is what I've adopted.
Thank you. Stuart, how long have you been in business?
As far as me personally or the organization?
The organization.
The organization, we actually turned 50 this year.
Congratulations.
So it's
This
big,
is a
big
good
year for
50
us.
year, yeah.
It's a 50-50.
50-50, fantastic. Yeah, so begun by an earlier generation?
It was. My father started a company 50 years ago in 1964 as an apartment developer and a contractor in the commercial business, and did just a great job, really had a great sixth sense about what was happening and where things were going, and about creating amenities and experiences for people, things that we sort of take for granted today. But he was an absolute pioneer in that regard. And it's my goal and responsibility is to sort of not screw up that incredible track record and those footprints that he left for us.
Did you assume that you would do this? Was that something that you knew you wanted to do, or did you have to turn a corner at some point and come back?
I always, my dad, who's now deceased, of blessed memory, I hoped I'd always have the opportunity to work with him, but at the same time, he was very successful, a great type A entrepreneur that I just didn't know how that would work. And so I went to the University of Wisconsin, studied real estate there, and then worked out in California for 12 years for two different firms, where I just had a great opportunity, great exposure, great growth. And then finally, my dad's health was suffering, and so almost 25 years ago this year for me, had the opportunity where we were able to really join forces and really created the Ackerberg Group that you see today, different than what he did. And we had a little bit of overlap in working, although I really probably waited a bit too long given his health. But by then I was able to hopefully bring in a unique approach. I had more involvement in commercial and acquisition, where his was in development and apartments. And I think had a good collaboration. And
built on it. That's
hopefully
wonderful.
he'd be proud of where it is today from what he started.
Thank you very much. Okay, very last question. Katie, what was your thought when you learned that you were nominated and were going to be honored here as one of the real Power 50?
I was surprised, but honored. I think it's fantastic that we all are being honored in this way tonight, and it's a really nice way to celebrate the business community here and the fantastic leaders that we have. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to all three of you, too.
Thank you.